to be able to go. We drive down. It's really fun. You get to meet a lot of new people, talk to people, become really close with people from across the nation and really just become friends with them. I still talk to them to this day, every day. We have a little group chat. We always check in with each other, tell them what we're doing. So it's really just become a family, and so that's kind of what 4-H offers at the national level, but it's kind of cool how it comes back to the state and the county level as well, and being able to see those people outside of 4-H as well.
Okay. All right.
I'll just talk about camp.
A big part of 4-H for me is going to camp every year. So at 4-H camp, we have people from all counties come to one place for a week, spend the night. We do a bunch of different activities. We learn camp songs, archery, rock climbing. Some of the younger kids do like tie-dye and stuff, and some of the older kids do cooking, leather. At camp, you get to know everybody from all over and from all different age groups. You become friends with them. It's kind of like just a big thing, you know. Come back year after year, same people, same friends.
Nice.
This summer, Madison's going to be a counselor at training, or a CAT for short, which means that she'll go through some trainings at camp, and then the following year will be eligible to apply to be a counselor.
We're all members of Center County Teen Council, and that's just a club that we'll get together. We do things like I've gone on 2 exchanges, interstate exchanges. Last year we went to Minnesota. 2 years before that we went to Texas. I went to Texas, and we'd go down there and stay with other 4-H'ers for a whole week. They'd set up and have a schedule, and we would go and see certain things. Got to see the Alamo, Texas Ranger Museum, and stuff like that, and it was really cool. Similar thing there in Minnesota. We went to like Mall of America and to a water park, and it was really fun. This summer, we'll have them come over, Minnesota kids come over to our place, and we'll have kind of divide and conquer between the team members, club members, on who stays where, and we haven't set up an itinerary yet, but we're going to work on an itinerary and show them the cool places around here, like Penn's Cave and some of the stuff, just unique historic things about Center County.
So in 4-H in Center County, there's a lot of different unique opportunities, and so being in Teen Council is one of them. We get to do those exchanges that Sawyer talked about, but also something that's happening during 4-H week, actually on March 18th, we get to host a lot of fundraisers and a lot of community outreach. So on March 18th, we're actually holding a pancake supper. So if any of you like to eat pancakes and sausage, you're more than welcome to come.
When is this again?
March 18th. It will be in Center Hall at the Center Hall Lions Club
Okay.
from 5 to 7 p.m. And so it's just kind of a way that we get to talk with community members, and it just so happens to fall during 4-H week this year, which is a great opportunity to be able to talk to the community about what 4-H does, about how it affects us as kind of members in it, and also kind of the different unique stories, because each one of us up here has a different unique story about 4-H and how we got involved and why we stay involved. So it's just kind of something that we're able to do, and it's cool and it's fun and a lot of time to be able to spend with the community.
I think something really cool is a lot of people associate 4-H with animal science. And while, yes, that is a large part, these kids all show animals at the fair, but they're up here talking about their other experiences as well that they're getting in 4-H. So it's a very well-rounded program for all ages. Thank you guys for sharing. Do y'all have any questions?
Fabulous. I'll reserve mine. I'll
Sure.
have Commissioner Concepcion go.
So the experience, like, it sounds like there's just so many cool experiences, like getting to go to camp every year, though, and see the same folks year after year, and then those opportunities to be a counselor at that camp. That is like the sort of thing that really, you build your childhood memories based on those experiences. That's really neat. Where is the 4-H camp located that you go to?
So the past couple of years, it has been located down in Somerset County at Camp Harmony.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Prior to that, we were camping at Kanesatake, which is
yeah?
right in our backyard.
That's really close, yeah.
During COVID, the scheduling kind of got a little jumbled, and so our week got filled. And so we did relocate to Camp Harmony in Somerset. So it's a little bit of a drive for us here in Center County, but we were very blessed to have it at Camp Kanesatake for years, and our friends from, because we camp with the southwest region
I was gonna ask
of
you, like, a
counties.
region that you,
Yeah, so we have, I think, 9 counties that go with us to that one camp, and so it's somewhat central. It's not, you can't find a spot that's central for everyone, but we like our spot at Camp Harmony, and we've grown to get more comfortable with it. Took a couple years to
great.
kind of, you get used to the traditions of one place and then you switch it up. So, but I
Yeah.
think we are growing to love our location.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to hear about all these developmental experiences that you get to have, and it's a great complement to your academic work in school. I'm sure that you're like building on a lot of the skills with reading and writing and communicating and
Public speaking.
responsibility and accountability, and all of that is being reinforced and added to with your 4-H experience. It's great to hear. And, you know, we talk a lot about like the importance of STEM education for our young people, and 4-H is really kind of at the leading edge of that, with between animal science and the other kind of more engineering focused experiences. So great that you're doing this work, and I'm glad that we're able to help support it here in Center County.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting it.
Yep.
Great, Commissioner Dershowitz.
Well, thank you for coming out. It's pretty amazing to see what young people are capable of, and with proper leadership, it really works well. Not only is it the STEM issue that we're proud of, but also the fact that you're learning leadership skills. And that's really interesting, I think, to us in government, because you're the future leaders of our community, and we really appreciate that. And just as an aside, did any of you know Mickey Peters?
Yes.
Okay, well, Mickey was obviously probably a 5 or 6, 7 decade contributor to the 4-H program. But let me tell you a little factoid. We were in here one time doing this little announcement and honoring you folks, and Mickey said, "Why don't you guys do the pledge to the flag?" And at that point, we didn't do the pledge to the flag.
Okay.
And Mickey, as a 4-H volunteer and longtime participant in a lot of things county government, suggested that we do the pledge to the flag at our commissioner meetings because of a meeting much like this. And that's why we do the pledge to this day. We've done it every week ever since that. So
That's awesome.
There's an impact that you folks have that spans many generations, and we really appreciate the fact that you're here and sharing your achievements with us. And I know we contribute a little bit financially, and maybe we're good cheerleaders for 4-H, but it's really just fantastic to see young people doing great things, enjoying themselves, and learning so many different skills. And we really appreciate you coming in today, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. I've been very involved with your 4-H programs. I know at your most recent award ceremony, I think Commissioner Concepcion was there too.
Yes.
Broad variety of young people
Absolutely.
doing all sorts of judging, speech, et cetera. And I think we took home a couple of places, as I remember. So a wonderful work there. And of course, it's always great to be at Grange Fair and have my bidding paddle up there and getting my elbows out,
Yep.
making sure that I still capture the grand champion rabbit.
Yep.
We
So,
appreciate that.
Six fairs running.
That's awesome.
But again, fabulous group doing wonderful things with 426 young people in Center County. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any questions from the press on 4-H? No? All right.
Okay.
I think we're maybe ready to take a motion then.
Then I'll move to adopt Proclamation 8 of 2025, proclaiming March 16th through 22nd as Pennsylvania 4-H Week in Center County.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt proclamation number 8, proclaiming the 16th to the 22nd of March as Pennsylvania 4-H Week in Center County. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Coming up, and we'll do pictures.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well
Thank you so
done.
much.
Indeed.
How we doing, JJ? We centered?
Might have to come in a little bit.
Squish a little bit.
Yeah, switch it a little
Head a
bit.
little toward Ferguson?
Yeah, y'all are good. All right there?
All right.
Good stuff.
Thanks, JJ.
Thank you.
Great stuff, thank you.
Oh, wait, somebody else from the back?
Oh,
Sorry, one more, JJ?
One more from the cheap seats in the back.
Yeah.
General admission.
That's my sister.
Thank you guys so
Hey,
much.
thank, no, that's for you.
Oh, for us, we can
That's
take
for
that
you.
out. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thanks
Thanks.
for coming in. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hope to see you all at Grange Fair again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See y'all there.
Yep.
Grab your stuff. We can cut it out.
All right, so now after proclamation primarily for our youth, we have a proclamation, I think, covering all age ranges. I think it's Cameron is here for proclamation number 9, proclaiming March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County. And if you'd like to speak from the podium and maybe cheat a little bit, face the cameras as you mostly talk.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Cameron Cedino. Just going to be a little bit about myself, read off my script, and then tell you more about myself, the bleeding disorders community, and we'll go from there. I'm a Penn State alumni. I now work for the university in the College of Ag. I work in the plant pathology department as a research technician. I do really cool research with farmers and a lot of lab work, great mix of everything, so really appreciate what 4-H does, and that was cool to see them here. So March, I'm here to accept the proclamation to recognize March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County. Each year, we celebrate March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month to bring much-needed attention to inheritable blood and bleeding disorders. According to the CDC, 1 in 100 people have a bleeding disorder, and many go undiagnosed and lack proper treatment because of this. The most common bleeding disorder is von Willebrand's disease, if any of you have heard of that, which affects more than 3% of the population, but it often remains undiagnosed due to lack of awareness from both medical professionals and the general public. This month shines a light on patients and families with hemophilia, von Willebrand's disease, rare factor disorders, and platelet disorders to share their lives, stories, struggles, and successes. Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month has been observed each March since 2016 after being designated a national health observance by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month aims to increase awareness of bleeding disorders among the public, as well as bring them to the attention of policymakers, public authorities, industry reps, scientists, and health professionals. So I'm someone with a bleeding disorder. I have severe hemophilia B. I don't know if anyone remembers hemophilia from maybe a basic biology class back in high school. It's an inheritable blood disorder. I inherited it from my mom's side of the family. And a little bit about my story. So my uncle had hemophilia. He passed away before I could ever meet him because back in the 80s, 90s, the treatment that I have wasn't currently available. One of the ways they treated it was blood transfusions back then, and around the time of the AIDS epidemic, he received blood with the HIV virus in it, and he passed away because of that. And that was just a couple decades ago. So now I have really fancy synthesized medication that allows me to live a pretty happy and healthy lifestyle, which I'm very grateful for. But I think, things like Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month can only do good helping to spread awareness. Let's see, I was very grateful, I am very grateful, and was very lucky that, my mom knew there was a risk that I could have hemophilia. So as soon as I was born, we had a blood test done, came back positive, and right then and there, she established relationships with the hematologist. I'm from Western PA, so Pittsburgh, and because of that, I was able to receive the proper treatment right after birth and for my whole life since. As well, my mom has been awesome in being involved with the bleeding disorders community. She actually works for the Western PA Bleeding Disorders Foundation. There's a Western PA and Eastern PA foundation in the state. Both kind of service Central PA. It's kind of a matter of just who prefers to go to which which side of the state for events. So I've been lucky in that sense that I've always been kind of welcomed and involved with the community. I've been exposed to all these great opportunities. I grew up advocating for the bleeding disorders community in government buildings. I went to Harrisburg. Pictures of every height from 5 years old to, just recently going to Harrisburg, talking with senators, state representatives about the importance of kind of including funding for the hemophilia treatment centers within the state and state line items. There's a treatment center in Pittsburgh, Hershey, and Philadelphia. And so I've been to D.C. before. The Western PA chapter is actually going to D.C. I think next week to advocate for, on a more grand scale, for bleeding disorders awareness. And I've been lucky in that sense. I'll repeat. The reason I think it's really important to raise awareness is that a lot of people go their whole lives without knowing that they have a bleeding disorder. Like I said, 1 in 100 people probably have one. I've met so many people in my life who just say, oh, I thought I bruised easily, or I thought I had heavy periods, and that was just it. But men and women, everyone has bleeding disorders. And because some of them can be more mild, people often don't understand it. So, I think it's important to bring this up, and I wanted to thank you all for your support of the bleeding disorders community. If you or a loved one suspect you might have bleeding disorder, or someone in your family has symptoms of it, you can take an online risk assessment and get information about testing and where to receive treatment at betterknowyou.org. Thank you very much. Might have ran through that really fast, but if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thanks, Cameron. Can you give us that website again a little slower?
Yeah. betteryouKnow.org.
So better,
Better you.
like Y-O-U,
Yeah.
and then K-N-O-W.
Yep, betteryouKnow.org.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to hear your story, and also to hear that while the bleeding disorders are still very much a serious concern, that scientific research has made some progress
Yeah.
on allowing people with bleeding disorders to live more normal lives.
Yeah, I could talk just to go off of that,
Yeah.
just to describe the kind of medication I take. So it's a synthesized clotting factor. So like with severe hemophilia B, there's like 13 cascading coagulant proteins that clot your blood when you have a bleeding outbreak, whether that's like a sprained wrist or impact wound or whatever. I'm missing factor 9. People with hemophilia A are missing factor 8, and then there's other rare hemophilias that missing others of those proteins. So my body, with the severe status, I make like less than 0% of that clotting protein. So I need to take this medicine. I take it intravenously, so through the vein, needle injection twice a week. Because of the awesome bleeding disorders community we have in PA, Western PA, similar like 4-H, we have summer camps for youth to everyone with, we have people from Ohio, Buffalo, all of West Virginia. They're all welcome, and they come, and it's a week during August typically, and at a YMCA camp, and it's really fun just to get a lot of kids together and to show them, hey, there's other people your age living with bleeding disorders, and it's really a blast. And they do self-infusion trainings there. So when I was, I think 10 or 9, I learned how to give myself my own medicine. Before that, my parents had to do it for me, and before that, we'd have to drive 30 minutes to Pittsburgh when I was like really little every so often to get an infusion. So I still do that twice a week. There's been some really cool breakthroughs recently for gene therapy. So now you can go through this really crazy process, and you can actually go from like severe status to mild status with this gene therapy treatment, which basically means you don't have to take the medicine on prophylactic schedule anymore. You just have to take it maybe if you have an outbreak of bleed or whatever. And I would just say that that's really cool, because the medicine that I take, a lot of other people take, it's very, very expensive. And I'll just give you an example. I logged into my Highmark portal in January, And I saw before insurance and copay accumulator and everything kicked in, the just raw cost of my medication was $314,000 just for 1 month's worth. And yeah, it's
1 month.
1 month. And there's people with even more expensive than that who have bleeding disorders. So, like, no one can really live and afford that full cost up front. So there's a lot of back and forth about, you know, how much insurance companies cover. People, you know, who are on Medicaid, they have it fully covered for now, which is good, at least in PA. As far as I'm aware, I don't have as many talking points about that whole
Yeah.
health insurance political side, but yeah, it's a struggle. And, you know, I'm thankful that I work for the university. I have great coverage through them, and, you know, my medical manufacturer, they kind of kick in the rest, and so I don't have to pay any of that crazy cost. But it's stressful living in that circumstance and kind of knowing that, all right, well, if I lose this good job, then, you know,
Yeah.
could go without that life-saving medication. So
Right.
sorry if I went on a tangent there,
Sorry.
but thanks for listening.
That's part of this, yeah.
Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah. So thanks so much for sharing about this, and I think the experiences you've shared in terms of your advocacy really highlights some of the important reasons why we want to have federal funding, particularly for these kinds of rare diseases that maybe don't affect as many people across the population as something like heart disease or cancer, but require really specialized research, specialized medications that you know, any of us on our own could never absorb. So it's really important for all of us to be able to realize that we want to invest in this kind of research as a country so that all of our citizens, you know, since any of us could end up having a rare disease and having access to the kind of medical care that you've described is just, you know, leaps and bounds beyond what it was a few decades ago. And that speaks to the importance of medical research and continuing these programs that are saving lives and improving lives and helping people like yourself to be able to have, you know, the kind of successful career that you're having now that may not have been possible, you know, some decades ago without this kind of research that's moved forward. So
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very lucky to have hemophilia now versus literally any decade before.
right,
Yeah.
truly.
So yeah, thank you. That's
To be able
nice.
to be active and do things like as
Yeah.
a kid, like going to camp, which maybe in prior generations would have been, you know, like a much more risky prospect for kids to be very active who have.
Yeah, and that's the other
hemophilia.
benefit of raising awareness. So like I said earlier, like the sooner you establish that connection, folks with bleeding disorders with their doctors, healthcare professionals, their community, you know, I think they learn more about their limitations with bleeding disorders and how effective some treatments can be. So, I mean, I knew kids who parents, you know, literally never would let them go outside, never play sports, you know, they would like wrap them in bubble wrap cliche. Like,
Yeah.
I know, you know, that was a reality for some kids. And I was very fortunate that because I had such clear communications with my doctors, I was on a pretty intensive prophylactic schedule. So I played baseball, soccer, basketball all through, and then just until high school, just played soccer. I still recreationally sometimes play soccer, work out, and, you know, very, very blessed to be in that situation. Because really before I was born, that was not a reality for folks with severe hemophilia.
Right.
Life expectancy was way shorter, so we've come a long way in just a couple decades, and I think continuing to spread awareness and especially advocate at state and federal levels to, you know, increase funding support, you know, can only lead to better lifestyles and, you know, healthier, longer lives for folks with bleeding disorders.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Well, it's very enlightening. First of all, the economic impact to the folks that are inflicted with the diseases that's phenomenal to me. I had no idea. You're very very courageous to be able to battle this, because I think most people would be surprised to find out how prevalent it is. You say 3% of the
Yeah.
population. That's
Von
a
Willebrand
significant
disease
one.
just alone affects 3%. Yeah.
That's a significant population, and I think we all take for granted the fact that, you know, we've all heard of hemophilia, but I don't know that we really appreciate what the impacts are, and I think you've shed some real-time light on that, and we really appreciate you coming in to spread the word, and I hope the folks out there have a better appreciation of the gravity of the situation and provide the support to make sure we keep getting better. You know, to Commissioner Concepcion's point, I mean, we've come a long way, and to your point, we've come a long way, but it sounds to me like we've got a long way to go, and hopefully with genetic testing and engineering, we can come up with even better solutions, so congratulations, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yes, stay up there, Cameron, we'll vote on the proclamation and take a picture.
That's good. Then I'll move to adopt Proclamation 9 of 2025, proclaiming March 2025 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt proclamation number 9, proclaiming March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Come on up and we'll do a picture. Center you on Belflap? There on the map?
Very nice.
Yeah. Good?
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate that very much. Where can I get that picture?
All right. Moving on to somewhat more mundane but still important things, bids and proposals. We've got Jonathan here from Facilities with bid opening for the Center County Courthouse Annex Building envelope upgrades RFP, and I believe we have 2 successful proposals.
Yes, good morning. I'm asking for your consideration to enter into contract review with TMG Builders and Allegheny Restoration. They were the 2 companies that submitted bids for the annex building envelope upgrades. Both companies submitted all required documentation, and they submitted it in a timely manner.
Wonderful, and I believe that building, Steve could correct me, but I think it goes back to what, about the 1880s, 1890s?
All right, yep.
That, you got to upgrade those envelopes and the caulking and the windows and wherever the roof meets the building every couple of decades, and I think we're here at that time again.
Yep, this is just a preventative thing to try to stop water infiltration and catch any issues before they become large issues.
Commissioner Concepcion, anything?
Sounds good. Good preventive maintenance.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Nope, I'm good. Let's see where it comes out.
All right.
I'll move to enter into contract review for various building envelope upgrades to the Center County Courthouse Annex.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to enter into contract review for various building envelope upgrades to the Center County Courthouse Annex. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great, thank you, Jonathan. And then I think I have Leslie next. I don't know if, for Resolution 5 for CEDACOG? All right, yeah, sorry, Ryan, I'm just trying to follow the order.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm here this morning requesting your consideration of Resolution 5 of 2025. As a CDBG grantee, the county is required to update master file documents every 5 years or when there's a change of the board. The agent resolution authorizes CEDACOG staff to execute on behalf of Center County certain documents associated with the community development block grant, both entitlement and competitive programs. Such documents, just as a refresher, may include annual reporting requirements such as the Fair Housing Report, MBE, WE contractor subcontractor activity report, equal employment opportunity, applicant data for direct benefit activities. There are also semi-annual and quarterly reporting requirements. And then as needed and with prior approval, we have CDBG flagged activity reporting, fiscal status report, corrective action plans, all types of monitoring documentation, and then budget revisions, modifications, and any contract extension requests. Are there any questions about agent resolution document?
Thanks for covering that, Leslie, and for the folks at home, the Community Development Block Grant is federal money that the commissioners use to keep the water and sewer authorities functional, especially in the rural parts of the county. Plus, we have used some of that money recently for the Old Greg School Community Center in Spring Mills. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
No, thanks for being, the agent that helps us work through making sure we
Happy
get
to.
these grants.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And it's
Commissioner
also, I think,
Dershowitz.
important, that you have two elements of it. You have the entitlement block grant, which is a fixed amount of money.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then later, you can go after the competitive dollars, we've
Which-
been fairly successful in the past.
Yep. Just
Yeah.
applied for one recently this past February, so hopefully
Yeah.
we'll hear on that next
Good.
month.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
unless there's anything else, I think we take a motion on that one.
Move to adopt Resolution 5 of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 5 of 2025. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries, and I think you've got another
I
item
do.
for us, Leslie.
Yes, I'm also requesting Commissioners' approval of federal fiscal years 2021 and 2022 CDBG budget revisions. This should not be really any new information. We've had previous discussions about Eagle Creek Water and Sewer needing additional funding. So we were talking in these budget revisions, or for these contract years, reallocating Eagle Creek Water and Sewer funds to Haynes-Arensburg Water Well Rehab Phase 2 in the amounts of $52,392 for 2021, $54,916 from 2022. Again, so Eagle Creek Water Sewer Project was originally funded way back 2021. CDBG entitlement grants are 4-year periods. So unfortunately, 2021 contract is coming up on its termination date very soon. So it's just kind of moving some funding around. We can't shift money from one year to another, but we can shift within approved projects for those years. And Haynes-Arensburg Water Well Rehab, the electrical bids came in about $100,000 over budget. So we will be able to still put this money to good use here in Center County. And then just to be sure that there's the understanding that the county has opted to allocate all of its federal fiscal year 2024 entitlement to the Eagle Creek project, and also applied for the CDBG competitive grant this past February. So in other words, this budget revision really allows for timely expenditure of the 2021 and 2022 money by reallocating it to a project that's currently underway, as Eagle Creek needs additional funding, is not construction ready, and won't be by the termination date of these contracts. But you're really staying committed to that Eagle Creek project and prioritizing it with newer 2024 money.
Great, thanks for explaining that, Leslie. And obviously, in Haynes Township and Aaronsburg, project came in well over bid, needs to be done, so we're able to make that happen for that part of the county as well.
245 customers on that
Yeah.
water main, so it's a really important project.
Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, thanks. I think you did a really good job explaining why this needs to be moved over, and it doesn't reflect any lack of commitment to the Eagle Creek project. We continue to be committed to that project, but this money needs to go towards something construction-ready.
That's right.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Actually, my question is more, does our commitment to Eagle Creek with our full full entitlement commitment, does that make that program more competitive, more likely that it'll be funded?
So the suggestion or recommendation from DCED prior to our recent submission of competitive grant was that the county should allocate at least 75% of their latest entitlement. So you went all in with
Yep.
100%. Yes.
I hope it's successful.
I do too.
That would be wonderful. We've been trying to get that project done for
Yes.
a number of years now, so
Yeah.
that would be great for the residents down there, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Looks like we could take a motion.
Sure. Then I will move that we approve the FFY 2021 and 2021 Community Development Block Grant Budget Revisions.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the federal fiscal year 2021 and the 2021 Community Development Block Grant budget revisions. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan, now it's your turn.
Sorry about
Looks
that.
like you got 3 items for us.
Yes, I have 3 items on the agenda today. First is to consider the approval of a contract with Center Helps that will provide fiscal-related duties for the alcohol highway safety classes. Alcohol highway safety classes are a curriculum that first-time and second-time DUI offenders must take. That's mandated by the state. Center Helps will be responsible for providing payments to the instructors and prepare all tax-related documents. The contract estimated is $3,375.
Yes, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second is contract renewal with CCYC, also known as Central Counties Youth Center. It provides 14-bed regional juvenile detention facility where if we have to put youth in detention, we are contracted with them and they will take our kids. We are one of the 5 owner counties, and our amount that we are paying this year for that contract is $400,544, and that reimbursement rate is a 50% reimbursement rate from the state, and that's what's set. So it'll be split between the county and the state at a little over $200,000 for each agency. The third is the grant agreement renewal for our annual juvenile probation service grant. And this is to assist with juvenile staff salaries, and the period for that is July 1 of '24 until June 30th of '25.
Great, thanks for covering those 3 contracts and agreements. Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion? Commissioner Dershowitz?
Nope.
All right,
I'll move to approve probation items 1 through 3.
I will second that.
we have a motion and a second to approve the 3 items for probation. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ryan.
All right, any question, Gary?
Do all counties pay the same share for the youth detention center, or does Center County pay a higher share?
Well, it depends on use, Gary. It basically is reflective on the volume of days that we have children in the facility. So it's a 5-year rolling average at this point. Whether or not that's maintained over the, long term, I can't speculate. But right now, it's based on a 5-year rolling average.
On average, does Center County have more youth there than others?
I would say we are one of the higher users, but there are other, particularly of the 5 counties, there are other counties that seem to commit a lot of children to the facility. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can, I see a lot of strategies ahead to downsize the number of bed space days that Center County uses, so.
Yeah. Here are other plans in other
Counties for similar centers maybe, so.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right, great, thanks, Gary. Jonathan has 2 more items for us.
Yes, the first is asking for your consideration and approval of change orders with Ainsworth Incorporated for the replacement of the water softening system at the Community Services Building, and then also a credit for the deletion of sprinklers in the crawl space. The water softener comes in at $34,757.78, and the credit is $12,386.78. The credit for deletion of sprinklers is due to a code review. They do not require those sprinklers, so we removed them to save that extra cost.
Well, that sounds great, Jonathan, and I know based on some issues we had at another county facility, water softening can be a very good thing.
Yes. Yes, the current water softener was deemed end of life, so we thought this was the best time to replace it. With the quality of hard water that we have, it will aid in fixture life, things of that nature. So it's a good suggestion to have.
Commissioner Concepcion, anything on that one?
That makes sense.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Good.
All right.
I'll move to approve the change order with Ainsworth Incorporated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change order with Ainsworth Incorporated. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. And Jonathan, you've got another item for us for facilities.
Yes, the next item is asking for your consideration and approval of a contract with Penn Installations to provide an estimated of 10 hours of labor and repair the gypsum board, wall cracks, and paint the courtroom in the courthouse annex. We had some water infiltration issues in that courtroom that caused parts of the ceiling to crack and fall. So this would be those repairs, and then with the building envelope project, we will fix the water infiltration issues. So that contract is a not to exceed of $20,470.
Thanks, Jonathan. I suspect most of that is actually involved with the painting of the
Yes.
corporate.
Yes, majority of the cost is the painting of the courtyard.
Commissioner Concepcion, anything? Commissioner Dershowitz?
I do have to ask, $20,000 divided by 10 is a lot of money.
Well, that's why I said, Steve, it's mostly the painting, it's not the 10 hours.
I understand, but it's, okay, all right.
Yeah, it threw me
Okay.
at first too.
Yeah, that's,
But it's 10 hours for repair of the gypsum board, but the big part is the actual painting of the whole courtroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right.
Then I'll move to approve the contract with Penn Installations, Inc.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Penn Installations, Inc. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And Melanie is here from elections with a big change for our voters coming up over the next two election events.
Yes. I am asking for your approval of a CoStarz contract with No Ink LLC to purchase 211 electronic poll books. And that goes along with the licensing and software. Half of the poll books will be purchased in the spring. The other half will be purchased in the fall. The contract total is $465,815, funded as follows. County, $246,315. And then for the fall, the state would be $219,500 pending the approval of the election integrity grant. I did find out that we do have some money left over from the fall of the 2024 election integrity grant. Approximately total of $119,894.54 that we can use to purchase the spring poll pads. So the county portion would be $126,420.46.
All right, well, that's a little bit of good news right there.
Yes.
But if you could explain to the public a little more what this would mean as they come up to the desk there as they're voting, and then some of the benefits to the elections office.
So when you go up to the desk and you start to ask, tell people your name, you will have the poll books that you write and sign your name in. So instead of flipping through the book to find your name alphabetically, all they would have to do is type the first three letters of your last name and first three letters of your first name, and you'll pop right up. The poll worker would select your name, go through the steps, sign, and you would get actually a little ticket that you would present to the minority inspector to get your ballot. So if you don't have a ticket, you don't get a ballot. So you have to sign into the poll pad, you have to get that ticket, and in order to get your ballot. And also, with the numbered list of voters books that we go through, we will also have all those tickets to manage through. So if somebody was missed on line 85, we can go through and say, okay, this is another benefit that we can find that person. Also, they have a program that I would have on the website that I can, once we get all the poll pads back here, we can go through and they're all time-stamped of when they were, when they voted. So I can say that Commissioner Higgins actually went and voted at 7:54 a.m. on Election Day. So that's an added benefit. And also for our workers here in the office, they don't have to spend almost a month in a presidential scanning every single one of those poll books. And it's an automatic export and import of all of the poll books, everything that goes. And it'll go into one website, and then we download the stuff. So it's everything that we have on paper, just now electronically.
And I know we trialed this at some of our larger precincts over the last election or so and seemed to improve the process. And also, I don't think what a lot of the voters realize, in a lot of the bigger precincts, we actually have to have two of these books.
Some of them are going to have three.
Because Well,
Yes.
but with the paper, we would print one like a week beforehand, but then we'd have to print a supplementary one.
Correct.
A day or two beforehand as well.
Yes.
Now it's just all one book.
Yes, it's all on a pad. And it's everything that we have in our Shore system, just onto a little tiny pull pad.
Yeah.
And when we demonstrated them, our office was very well received. I have been working with the poll pads since 2020 and my previous county, and the poll workers love them, the voters love them. It's just streamlined, especially on a presidential, of how fast, because you can actually use all three of those poll pads instead of just one. So they talk to each other. So if you check in on one, you're automatically checked in onto the other one. So you can't go around the building, come back in, and try to check in again.
All right.
So they all talk to each other, and you can use all three of them to check somebody in.
Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, I think this will probably be really good for streamlining, getting worker polls, people through the polls pretty quickly, and
Yes.
for workers to be able to have that electronic record as they're going along. So when the ticket is printed out, it seems like that's going to be really helpful for making sure that we write down in the numbered list of voters exactly the
Yeah.
correct name and
Let's say that they get really busy at a presidential. They can actually take the tickets and write 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just put them down if they don't have time to write the names in, if they're
Right.
getting too busy. And then when they get a lull and everything, they can go back and read everything.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be beneficial for everybody in the long run.
And being able to have the most up-to-date version on
Yes.
election day is great.
Yes.
So just to be clear, this has nothing to do with the tabulation end of things. This all has to do with the check-in process and making sure that the voters are eligible to vote at that precinct.
Yes, you can actually print out a slip. So let's say if they go to the wrong precinct and they have time, and if they want to go to somewhere, you can print out a slip to show them the address of their polling location. Say that they moved and didn't realize like where their location was, we can print it out and show them where they go.
So these books have, they have the entire database, not just that precinct in them.
It has everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll have every voter in Center County.
So if Mary Smith shows up at precinct 1 and should it be at precinct 50, it'll say.
Wrong
"Mary,
location."
You belong at precinct 50 and this is the address and.
Yep. And it'll also pop up active, inactive, requested a mail-in ballot, requested an absentee ballot, already received absentee ballot, it'll tell us everything. And also will help us with the provisional ballots also.
Well, that's where I was going next. If you can explain how that helps us with the provisionals, because this would seem like this would be a sort of a cure for a lot of that conversation.
Yes. So we can have the option of having them sign into the book, or we can have it just processed provisionally, and it'll automatically take them to a screen. We can either have them sign it or no signature. We have that option to choose what we want them to do. So it will keep track of every provisional voter. Once you hit that process provisionally, they will go over, do their envelope, and then we'll have their record.
Will they take that ticket to the provisional ballot location?
Yes.
And without that ticket, that's pretty much their pass into.
Yes,
the pro-
and it
that
does
process.
tell you what party they are in there too. So we can determine what's on that ticket. Like we can have their name, their address, their birth date, their party. So what I like about it is that we can decide what we want.
Okay. How about the training component to getting our poll workers able to?
So
make this
during
adaptation?
training, when we have the training already set up for poll worker training, we will have the poll pads there, and we will go through a training for them. So we'll spend an hour, and I will volunteer my time to any poll worker that is confused with the poll pads. I will sit with them personally and go through the poll pads if they don't understand them. But it is a step-by-step, one right after that. You can't go to one other step without finishing that first one.
And the intention is to have these poll pads available for the spring primary?
Half of them, yes.
Okay.
And some of the smaller precincts will only, I know some of the concern with one of them, we only have 45 voters. They will actually still get the written, the poll book.
Right.
I didn't see the need for giving them one. But mostly everyone's either going to get 1, 2, or 3 poll books.
Okay.
And we will have extra on hand.
All right.
And I think the plan is to run it out to what, roughly the first 45 precincts in the primary?
47.
47.
Yes. I do have a list of
Yeah.
the precincts if you wanted to see where.
Do we have
If anybody
questions
wanted
from
to
the
see
press
them.
on that one? No? All right,
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
all right. Any questions from the press on the topic in general? No?
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll move to approve the contract with No Inc. LLC.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with No Inc. LLC. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for the explanation. And now we'll have Chad for 2 items for informational technology.
Good morning. The first item I have for consideration of approval is with Watkins Security LLC to provide an appliance and a network storage device for our county camera system. So this is a one-time contract. It'll be a one-time fee for $11,673. And then the next item is a contract addendum with Comcast to provide services at our new community services building. Monthly cost is $779. That's in line with other locations we have that have fiber. There will be a one-time $398 installation cost. This contract is for 3 years with a total of $28,442.
Great. Thanks, Chad. Yeah, that sounds like a very reasonable price for fiber into an office building.
Yeah. I think we'll have 500 speed there, so it should
Alright.
be good shape.
Very good. Any questions?
Yeah, it's just exciting that we're at this point of getting this building hooked up and online.
Yeah.
No questions, thank you.
All right, we'll take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the IT services items 1 and 2.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2 items for information technology services. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
And now we have an item for Leah, who's all ready to go.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am here to request your consideration for the approval of a contract with Bethany Christian Services of Central PA. They would provide foster care services for our dependent and delinquent youth. The contract period would be for July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025, and the contract total would be for $30,000, with the state funding $24,000 and the county share being $6,000.
Great. Thanks for covering that. And thanks for finding us an additional group to support our youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, where are they located?
So they have offices throughout the state. They do have some homes located within Center County, which is lovely. And then some of our surrounding counties also have some foster homes that are licensed through their agencies. So we're hoping to be able to keep kids a little bit closer.
Okay.
No questions, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Then I'll move to add the contract with Bethany Christian Services of Central PA to the March 25th consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add the contract with Bethany Christian Services of Central PA to the consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks,
Thank you.
Leah.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, we have a very short consent agenda.
I'll move to approve this week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to authorities, boards, and commissions. We have term expiration on the Aging Advisory Council for Charles Mensch. We'd like to thank him for his service. And then I believe we have an appointment also now for Lisa, I believe it's Berlin or Berline, to also join the Aging Advisory Council. Unless there's any questions, we could take a motion.
I'll move to approve the ABC appointment and term expiration.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ABC appointment and term expiration. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll now move on to a letter. The Board of Commissioners are considering submitting a letter to the Department of Corrections opposing the potential closures of SCI Rockview and Quahana Boot Camp. SCI Rockview is right here in Center County, and Quahana Boot Camp's 5 or 6 miles outside. The Department of Corrections Steering Committee on February 7th reports operational costs and personnel costs, including overtime, as two root issues plaguing the Department of Corrections. To resolve these issues, the steering committee proposed the closure of SCI Rockview and Quahana boot camps. This letter elucidates our strong opposition to this proposal, and the letter has two goals: to demonstrate the proposed closures do not address the root issues identified, and to lay out a preliminary model of the resulting economic impacts to the counties of Center, Clearfield, and Clinton. The report estimates renovation costs for Rockview and Quahana at $74 million and just under $6 million respectively. The steering committee posits that the closing of these facilities will allow the Commonwealth to avoid renovation expenditures. However, significant components of these renovations have actually already been completed or are slated to occur regardless of whether the facilities remain in operation. Efforts to redistribute the employees across central PA after the proposed closures would be untenable. Between Rockview and Quahana, there are 892 employees, all of whom are guaranteed positions if the facility is closed. What is not guaranteed is job security beyond the closure period. There's a variety of quotes here from the Department of Corrections stating that it's difficult to forecast what would happen, how many employees might retire, how many would be replacing retiring staff at other locations, and for how long some facilities will be operating over complement. Similarly, the proposal suggests relocating 2,148 inmates from SCI Rockview and 348 inmates from Quahana Boot Camp. Although these relocations are logistically feasible, relocation would remove them from special programs whose successes may not be able to be replicated at other facilities. Relocation can also pose threats to the physical safety of inmates, especially vulnerable populations such as the mental health roster inmates at Rockview. In a letter to the commissioners, and we've had a number of heartfelt letters from both employees at the facilities and the inmates, an inmate at Rockview expresses the following concern. Imagine the unintended and reckless impact of potential violence like assault, rape, and extortion the most vulnerable will likely be subject to. To use a common and demeaning predatory prisoner term, we would be fresh meat to predators at another facility, unquote. Finally, the proposal purports that closing Rockview and Quahana can save operating costs, but these savings are likely overstated. First, the closures do not avoid a substantial portion of the estimated nearly $80 million of renovation costs. Second, programs that reduce recidivism save taxpayers money. As Clearfield County District Attorney Ryan P. Sayers wrote, the boot camp program has successfully graduated over 10,000 individuals from 1992 to 2020 and has saved taxpayers a little less than $5 million over the last 20 years. What is consistent across these arguments is the short-term focus of the DOC. At best, closures may achieve savings in the short term, but they don't solve the root causes of cost growth and will likely introduce new, harder-to-resolve issues. I don't know if Aaron or John, JJ, if somebody could pull up the financial analysis. While the efficacy of closing Rockview and Quahana as a long-term means of saving costs is uncertain, the economic impact to this region is certainly negative. First of all, if we estimate that roughly 20% of the current employees, maybe 178 or so, would remain in the region, this would mean a long-term loss of 714 good-paying union jobs with great benefits to the region. There are limited vacant positions currently available. Not all facilities within 67 miles of these facilities have the same position, and the majority of the steering committee's proposed vacancies are not even actually vacant, but would be positions of people who might or might not be retiring soon. Second, there will be significant changes in population, which will also have economic consequences. Adjusting for an average family size of 2.3 people, these 714 correction employees have families of about 1,643. There's also 2,496 inmates from Rockview and Quahana. That is 4,139 people leaving the Clinton Center and Clearfield counties. These are people who will no longer be purchasing goods or services from local vendors, and that number of people will no longer be calculated in state and federal reimbursements on a per capita basis. Thousands of these people will take their wages and economic activity, which will be permanently lost. Finally, there will be direct and indirect imminent monetary losses. We estimate $50 million of wage loss just from the 714 net loss of corrections individuals, and this is just payroll, just wages and overtime. That does not include health care or other benefits. Additionally, at bare minimum, every economic model we can find shows that one job of any kind creates at least one additional spin-off job. You've got areas like manufacturing where you could see 4 or 5 or 6 spin-off jobs, but any job creates another job. That's another $35 million of lost economic activity and another 713 missing jobs in Clinton Center and Clearfield counties. Additionally, a prison slightly smaller than Rockview closed in California 2 years ago. That prison purchased $32 million of local products and services. So just these basic numbers is $117 million annually lost in Clinton Center and Clearfield counties, and these numbers do not include health care or other benefits received by Rockview and Quahana staff. The $120 million savings proposed from the closure is likely cost used elsewhere earned. The ripple effect of thousands of Department of Corrections staff being bumped in an ever-widening chain reaction will create havoc for staffing, recruiting, and overtime for years to come. Should the number of incarcerated individuals at state correctional institutes increase at some point in the future, the cost of building a new facility the size of Rockview is estimated at well over $300 million. In addition to the employees and their families, there will be significant harm to the citizens and economies of Center, Clearfield, and Clinton counties resulting from these closures. Ultimately, any savings at the state level is being taken from these local counties in the form of losses. We strongly urge the Department of Corrections to reconsider the proposed course of action before a potential disaster occurs. I'll hand it over to Commissioner Concepcion.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. I think one of the most critical points here, I think, is that the savings at the state level really are being taken from the local counties in the form of losses at the local level. And when we're thinking about the proposed $120 million in savings that the state is considering from the closure of Rockview and Quahana, that's a one-time, much of that is a one-time savings in terms of capital improvements that they would not be doing, whereas the losses are really an every year cost to the counties, every year going forward. It's that much that is not present in our local economy, whereas those capital improvement costs are one-time savings. So, yeah. So really, the impact on our county is considerable, and we're really hoping that the state will take a second look at this and consider, the impact locally, as well as the impact on the staff and the inmates as well, who are, stand to be really adversely affected by this.
Well said, Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Dershowitz.
Well, I have to agree with my fellow commissioners on this one. Not only do you have the displacement of individuals and the economic impact, but you are significantly reducing the capacity of our SCIs, literally across the state. I mean, when you lose a couple thousand, spots in that system, you're never going to get those back without, as Commissioner Higgins indicated, a significant And that, in today dollar, what, 300 million?
At
We'll
least.
try to do that 5 years, 10 years from now and see what that number looks like. It's, this I believe is short-sighted, and quite frankly, I don't know where this came from. I mean, I always assumed that Rockview was one of the flagship facilities across the state. It's been here 100 years, and yeah, maybe it's not as modern, but it's a very functional, reliable facility, and it's going to have an incredible impact on our community. And I would certainly wish that that our local legislators and the folks at the state take not only just a second, but maybe a third and fourth and fifth look at what the impacts of this will be, both to our local economy and to the state correctional facility status, across the Commonwealth. So I hope we can have some impact, and I appreciate all the hard work that I know Commissioner Hagan's put into crafting this letter with JJ, and I'm very happy to support it, and hopefully we'll have some success with the state, and they'll read it and take it very seriously.
I'd like to thank many other people on county staff for reviewing the document as well. Again, hard to understate the economic and most importantly personal aspects of this closure. It is the largest closure of any kind in Center County history, going back about 20 years to when the Corning Asahi picture tube plant closed. Questions from the press?
You've got numbers, they've got numbers. Yesterday at the State House Appropriations Committee, Secretary Harry refuted some of the facts you just stated, but the bottom line, they say, it comes down to economics, and what do you say? They're claiming the taxpayers of Pennsylvania cannot afford anymore to keep these facilities open.
Well, as we mentioned, first of all, many of their savings are illusory because the projects are already on, construction projects are either already underway or they're done. This is a full-scale elimination of something in the realm of 714 jobs. I don't think they can dispute that. The average pay for those jobs, just wage, payroll, and overtime, is about $72,000 per job, and that's based on 2023 numbers. I've got econometric models here that show that the absolute bare minimum number of jobs created from every direct job is 1.3. So I'm spotting them quite a bit here to say it's just one. Additionally, while we do not know exactly how much Rockview and Quahana spend in the local and state economy, we do have exact figures from California from a smaller prison from 2 years ago. So, we've got figures, they've got figures, irregardless. The benefits don't seem to stack up. Moving Quahana to another facility will probably drastically reduce the effectiveness of that program. As Commissioner Dershowitz mentioned, there's a number of flagship leading programs at Rockview that also do tremendous work.
I think I'd like to emphasize a point that Commissioner Dershowitz made about capacity of the whole system going forward. And one of the things that I think the state DOC is looking at is that it's only at about 82% of the capacity. However, that doesn't really speak to what is like an optimal capacity, and we know that the closer you get to 90% and above, the more risk there is in terms of the safety for inmates and for personnel in those facilities. So there's some really optimal level of capacity, and we don't want to go above that optimal level of capacity if we're thinking about safety for everyone involved in those SCI facilities.
And to layer on that, right now, I think we are in a position Commonwealth-wide that there are some jurisdictions that really are not incarcerating people at what I would consider probably a normal rate. But if we ever do get back to that level, you're going to have actually, if you would close a facility like this, you would overpopulate and overcrowd the facilities that are available. And you want to talk about safety hazards, that's really one of the main factors of what we need to look at is the long-term game here that could occur if we don't think right about this. And I think the overall population of the correctional system in Pennsylvania is at stake here, and I really hope that they again take a really fine look at this, and it's not just about short-term numbers.
So great question, Gary. Anything else, Tim?
have you heard anything more about the public hearings that they have to hold?
I believe they are going to be holding one for the Quahana facility. I don't know if they've promoted it real strongly yet, but I believe that is going to be
I think it's April 10th.
April 10th at the Community Alliance Church at 34,136 Frenchville Carthus Highway in Carthus, just a couple miles past Carthus into Clearfield County. And it's scheduled, I think, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I'd like to also thank Representative Takak and Senator Langerholtz for their leadership in
Yes.
making sure that this situation gets the illumination and consideration it deserves. So, thank you.
And our other state
Yes, of
representatives
course,
as well,
but-
yes.
I know they have been very outspoken in regard to this matter, so I want to show my appreciation.
I believe Representative Takak is holding 5 listening sessions that you can visit on his Facebook page or his website. So also a good question, Tim. Anything else from the press on this one? Great. All right. So we'll send copies, hard copy and soft copy out to the press. We'll be sending soft copies to the elected legislators and the Clinton and Clearfield County Commissioners also. All right.
Take a motion then.
So we'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the letter of support opposing the potential closures of SCI Rockview and Quahana Boot Camp.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter to the Department of Corrections opposing the potential closures of SCI Rockview and Quahana Boot Camp. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. All right, thanks again. I'll move to Commissioner Concepcion for the check run. Thanks, JJ.
Sure. So on this week's check run, the check that I'd like to recognize is to SendClear Services. They provide really vital early intervention and mental health care services to folks in Center and Clearfield County and beyond. In Center County, we particularly rely on them for their early intervention services. And with that, I would make a motion that we approve the check run dated February 28th.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the check run dated February 28th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Hopefully you don't have an administrator's report, John.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. So moving over to voter registration with Commissioner Concepcion.
Okay, so on today's voter registration report, we have 101,698 total voters on the report, and that is up 2 from last week. Of those, Democratic voters comprise 41,287, Green Party 161, Libertarian Party 560, those with no affiliation 15,522, and Republican voters are 42,129. All of the other very minor parties that have just a few voters comprise 2,039 registered voters, bringing us to that total of 101,698. Moving on to our precinct of the week, we have Precinct 89 at Ferguson West Central. They have 1,525 total registered voters, and they had a voter turnout of 81.25% at the last election in November. They vote at Videon Central in the conference room at 2171 Sandy Drive in Ferguson Township, and we'd like to thank Videon for the use of their space there for our elections. That's the voter report.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Concepcion. The Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, March 11th has been canceled, and the Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, March 18th has been canceled due to the Spring Commissioners Convention. Do we have any executive sessions to report or hold, John?
No executive sessions to report or hold.
All right, and our public meeting schedule, Thursday will be busy. Combined Salary Board and Board of Commissioners meeting at 10. And then also on Thursday, March 6th, we have the correctional facility outdoor recreation public design charrette. I think it's basically public comment at the correctional facility right across from Rudders. So that's this Thursday, March 6th, 6 p.m. Public comment on the outdoor recreation design possibilities for the correctional facility. Next commissioner meeting will be Thursday, March 6th, Combined Salary Board and Commissioners. Tuesday, March 25th, Board of Commissioners at 10. And then Thursday, March 27th, Finance Committee meeting at 9, Board of Elections at 2. Any additional questions from the press?
Does charrette mean they're serving French pastries or?
Well, I hope so, but I don't
Only
think
for the
so.
press, Gary.
No.
Is
No.
there something,
for the press.
is there something different they're expected than what we've heard in previous public comments, testimony about the project?
So typically, the way a design charrette works when you're gathering input on a public project is you're trying to get input from all the various stakeholders on what the possibilities are, what the various needs are, what people's ideas are for what this could look like. And so, as opposed to simply like a public comment period, I think you can expect people kind of sitting around tables and sketching things out to provide some feedback in a bit more of a concrete manner. So.
Thanks. Yeah, so, sorry, no French pastries. All right. Oh, sure.
Yeah, with the new Department of Government Efficiency, they've been making cuts kind of a lot at the federal level.
Yeah.
Have you seen any in the Center County area?
Well, we do know, just last night, I think 2 federal offices will be closing in State College, including Fish and Wildlife. We're also kind of unsure what level of cuts we're looking at here at county government. Could be a few $100,000, could be $6 million, could be $20 million. You start throwing in Medicaid cuts, it could be, God knows, tens of millions. We don't know. It's very stressful. We just don't know.
And with that, like Fish and Wildlife Services building, do you know anything about it beyond just the lease getting cut?
Besides the lease getting cut, no, the press release didn't say anything about whether staff are going to be laid off or whether they'll be transferred to other offices.
Is that the same for CEDACOG? You've got projects in the pipeline, but they depend a lot on federal funding that's still unknown.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You've got federal funding or you've got federal funding that passes through the state of Pennsylvania. We hope the state could maybe backstop some of that, but obviously their resources are limited as well. I think very roughly, something in the ballpark of 40% of the state budget is federal money, and super roughly 39% of the county budget is state and federal money. So it's quite significant for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and for all the counties in Pennsylvania, all 67 of them, most of whom are not in as good a financial shape as Center County government is. So it's just pretty stressful right now, and we're just trying to see what happens.
We also heard an update at the MPO last Tuesday that a number of the grant programs associated with bipartisan infrastructure law are basically frozen at this time. So some of the grants that we were applying for, the Safe Streets for All and the Protect grant, which is related to flood mitigation, those particularly we know are frozen at this time, but we don't know about, there's any number of different grant programs that through federal highway dollars that the MPO is participates in applying for those kind of grants, but those 2 particularly we know are frozen at this time.
So good question, Tim. Wish we had answers. We don't. We just have a lot of stress at this point. All right, unless there's anything else, I think we could take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn at 11:25. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.